In this concept video, we will review the pulpotomy and pulpectomy procedures. Concerning the partial or full removal of the pulp, these procedures play an important role in pediatric, endodontic, and emergency dental care. The goals of this concept video are to help you understand the differences between the pulpotomy and pulpectomy procedures, when each procedure is indicated, and to gain a general understanding of the procedural techniques. For more specific information about endodontic axes and instrumentation, please refer to our other endodontic learning modules. Before we begin, let's review the anatomy of the dental pulp. While blood vessels and nerves are found throughout the pulp, sometimes it is useful to distinguish between the coronal portion of the pulp, which is in the dental crown, and the radicular portion of the pulp, which extends into the root system of the tooth. According to the AAE Glossary of Endodontic Terms, a pulpotomy may take two forms. A full pulpotomy is one in which all coronal pulp is removed from the pulp chamber to the level of the canal orifices, as a means of preserving the vitality of the remaining radicular portion. This is not to be confused with a partial pulpotomy, sometimes called a Schweck pulpotomy, in which only a small portion of the coronal pulp is removed with the goal of maintaining the vitality of the remaining coronal and radicular pulp. Because portions of the vital pulp remain and may be preserved or maintained, pulpotomies are considered vital pulp therapy, the aim of which is to preserve and maintain the pulp tissue in a healthy state. Vital pulp therapy is one treatment option for treating asymptomatic carious pulp exposure in vital teeth. So while the pulpotomy, whether partial or complete, deals with only the coronal portion of the pulp, a pulpectomy is a complete removal of the dental pulp, which includes both the coronal and radicular portions to the levels of the apical foramen. It's important to understand when each procedure is indicated. For a pulpotomy, the pulpal status of the tooth must be vital. This can be indicated by a positive response to the cold test or electric pulp testing. But the true measure is the presence of vital tissue exhibited by bleeding during access. A pulpectomy may be used either in cases where the pulp is vital or as the initial step of a root canal when the pulp is necrotic. Both of these procedures are typically initiated following some sort of injury to the pulp requiring intervention. This injury may be due to caries, iatrogenic pulp exposure, or trauma, such as complicated coronal fracture or luxation. The extent of the inflammation is what distinguishes between when each is indicated. For pulpotomy to be indicated, the inflammation must be limited to the coronal pulp. If the inflammation extends into the radicular portion of the pulp, for example, if a periapical radiolucency is visible, a pulpectomy is indicated. One clinical sign that inflammation extends beyond the coronal pulp is bleeding from the canals that cannot be controlled with pressure or hemostatic agents during the pulpotomy. There are special considerations for treatment in the pediatric age group, including root development, patient behavior, and ability to follow up post-procedure. In pediatric patients where the apex may not be fully developed, maintaining the vitality of the radicular pulp by performing a pulpotomy or partial pulpotomy serves as an important goal of treatment. As long as there is a healthy blood supply to the radicular pulp, root development may continue. This means development of a closed apex, called apexogenesis, development of an appropriate crown-to-root ratio, and thickening of the root walls, all of which ensure the best long-term prognosis for the tooth. In pediatric patients, minimizing the treatment time or utilizing appropriate behavior guidance, including non-pharmacologic and pharmacological strategies, may also be beneficial, particularly for behavioral purposes. However, following vital pulp therapy, close follow-up will be necessary, and patients and their families should be aware that further intervention may be necessary in the future. Next, let's discuss a brief overview of the pulpotomy procedure. The steps are as follows. Isolate the tooth with a rubber dam. Remove all caries and diseased tooth structure. As the goal is to maintain the pulp's vitality, remember to use appropriate water coolant. After caries removal, change to clean instruments and burrs. Access the pulp chamber and identify the canals. Clean out coronal pulp tissue with a spoon excavator or slow-speed round burr, either size 2 or 4. To obtain hemostatic control, apply pressure with a cotton pellet saturated in sodium hypochlorite. Carefully suction liquid beyond the bounds of the endodontic axis. If the pulpotomy is the current definitive treatment, place a layer of calcium silicate cement, such as MTA or biodentin. Be aware that MTA can stain teeth over time. A definitive coronal restoration, such as a resin composite filling or a stainless steel crown in pediatrics, can follow immediately to close and seal the access cavity. These patients should be followed closely. If full root canal treatment is anticipated in the short term, place a eugenol saturated cotton pellet in the chamber and temporize with glass ionomer, IRM, or Cavit until the patient's next appointment. Next, let's discuss a summary of the pulpectomy procedural overview. For a pulpectomy, the first steps of isolating and accessing the pulp chamber are identical to when a pulpotomy is performed. After the canals are identified, the clinician will proceed with instrumentation by using a series of hand files and rotary instruments to clean and shape the canals. Disinfection with sodium hypochlorite should be used throughout the procedure. Please see our Cleaning and Shaping Endodontic module for more detailed procedural information. Dry the canal and chamber with paper points and place calcium hydroxide in the canals. Typically, a spacer, such as a sterile sponge, and temporary restoration, such as a resin-modified glass ionomer cement or a glass ionomer, will be placed. At a future visit, these temporary medicaments and space holders will be removed and obturation will take place prior to definitive restorative treatment with a core or post-core and crown. Temporary restorations must be replaced within their lifetime to reduce the risk of coronal leakage and reinfection. If a pulpectomy is being performed on a deciduous tooth, traditional obturation will not take place. Instead, the canals will be filled with a resorbable material like Vitapex, a mix of calcium hydroxide and iodoform paste, and the chamber will be sealed with a definitive restoration. To review, the pulpotomy procedure is indicated when there is a vital pulp with inflammation that does not extend beyond the coronal pulp. During this procedure, the inflamed coronal pulp is removed, medicament is placed, and the radicular portion of the pulp is left intact. The pulpectomy procedure is indicated when there is a vital pulp with inflammation that extends into the radicular portion of the pulp or when the pulp is necrotic. Calcium hydroxide is placed in the canals, and the procedure is typically followed by a non-surgical root canal therapy. Thanks for learning with us. Please be sure to check out our other endodontic and pediatric learning modules at mydentalkey.com.